we salute you. So, you're welcome to the Get Busy Living podcast. I'm Dr. Scott from Six Sense Acupuncture and the Healthy Habits Club. And I've been looking forward to this one this week. So, Adam, thank you very much. Mcclenaghan, is it? Mcclenaghan?
Mcclenaghan. Don't worry, that's not the worst I've heard. Don't worry about it.
Mcclenaghan. From the clan Mcclenaghan.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks so much, brother, for coming on today. I know how much how important your time is, and we appreciate you coming on. So thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to hearing some gold nuggets of information today.
I'll do my best to uphold your expectations.
Lay the golden egg. Yeah, that's right. Not literally, just hear it. So,
sorry, I mistook the kind of podcast. My bad. Sorry. But no, it's okay, mate. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it, mate. So, I'll start with my normal questions. So, tell us, Adam, what gets you to bed every morning?
And very luckily, I was like, I better think about this, right? People. Straight off the bat. Because you wake up one day, reason A, you wake up another day, reason B, but it's always people. Whether it's like, I get to go meet some strangers today. Heck yeah, that's going to be awesome. Or whether it's, hey, I get to go help someone today, Or maybe it's just family. I get to go see family, or I've been looking after my mum for quite a while. So sometimes it's just, hey, this person needs me in their life. But it's always people. It's never, oh boy, I can't, wait to go and purchase product, or I can't wait to go and stand in a queue. It's people every day.
Absolutely, brother. So thank you very much for serving the community and your mum, of course. And that one's I get it. That's very personal. I did it with my father, so I understand it. For years I watched him. So that's great news, brother. That's great news that you're doing such a great thing for the.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the information we throw out there, but we got to get busy living, right? And sometimes that's part of life. Like it's, everything is always about helping people around you. Ultimately, like
absolutely,
there's a reason we get dopamine when we do that, right?
Absolutely. So. So what do you do? What do you do?
That's a great question. My last two clients both described me as a business and brand strategist. So that's the label. That's like the LinkedIn box label that people have found to identify what I do. But most of what I do is helping people identify their own position, usually in a business context, usually business owners, right? Helping them identify where they are and where they want to be, and then building the pathway from one to the other. Often someone will come to me and say, oh, well, I don't understand why I'm getting this type of client, not this type of client. I go, okay, cool. Well, what position are you standing in from a business perspective, right? What are you saying to the world? Where are you saying it? What's your position? You understand, use Sun Tzu, right? You understand the enemy, the opponent, but you don't understand yourself. So naturally, you're not winning battles. You're winning max 50%. And when I try to pretend to be smarter than I am, that's the Sun Tzu quote I go to, right? Is I help people understand both themselves and their enemy. Wrong phrase, but you know what I mean. And their enemy to make sure that they win 100% of every battle.
Yeah, well, most big businesses use Sun Tzu's philosophies, especially in strategy with the business world, who their opponents are. And I know Sun Tzu talked about it in war, and that's the extreme. And because that's a matter of life or death. But this is business, and it's not so much a matter of life or death. You can always go back to a job. just one day beyond broke. But so big businesses realize, they know that those words that you just said are very important. Understanding your business, understanding who you are, and then also how they can help the other clients that you're with, and also, who your ideal client is. And that's a dominoes effect. Yeah, that's what you're trying to say.
100%. Exactly.
Like you said, there's steps into where they want to be. That makes a huge difference.
Usually for someone else, like it'll present like a fog. It'll present like sludge in the mind. They'll sit there and they'll go, oh, I'm just not quite sure. Sometimes it comes across as a lack of confidence. A lot of the time it does come across as a lack of confidence. We go, okay, well, that's the result, that's the effect. But often the cause is feeling unsure about your position because you don't, again, phrasing, but you don't understand where you stand and where your client stands. And that feeling of being unsure then leads to feeling like you don't have confidence, which then leads into being unsure of what direction to take. And it's kind of bizarre because sometimes people say, oh, you're a business therapist, as a result of that set of steps and connections. And there is a small component of that in there and saying, hey, you have a clear structure and a clear vision. And now all you need to do is practice, go and do. And sometimes it's as simple as saying to people, like you said, right? It's not life or death. It's okay if you fail. A lot of it is helping people go, it's okay. I work usually with founders, business owners or C-suites who are 5 years or under. I've got a couple of clients who are within the 5 to 15 year range, but most of them are 5 years or under. And for a lot of them, it's their first or maybe their second business venture. So they're not used to that continual push through failure, because you don't do that when you're PAYG, right? Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have the same consequences, doesn't have the same weight. Whereas if you fumble a pitch, you fumble a sale for $70,000 contract, $200,000 contract, that's a big mental hit. So a lot of it is helping people just move through that as well by going, no, that's okay. That's going to affect your mind, but here's a structure to help you move forward. Here's a strategy, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll move on to the next question. How the hell did you get into that?
Yeah, it's a good question. That's a good question.
We've got an hour.
Oh, good. All right. You don't have any more questions after this one, right? This is the last one.
Just two, but they're easy.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, look, there's a mechanical process that got me into it, right? And there's a mental process, right? So the mechanical process was, I'm a member of BNI in North Brisbane, and one of the members in my BNI group in a different business that I was running, they were saying at the end of a meeting, they said, can somebody help me? I want to draft some pitches, some proposals. They're proposing to Bega, the cheese company. They wanted to work for Bega, or with Bega, I should say. And they hadn't hit clients of that size before. And I said, yeah, I'll do it, no stress. Because before I was running my own business, in my previous work in a corporate life, a lifetime ago, I used to help people draft and build those sorts of documents. And we'd build them with an interactive design mindset, which was my initial study, which is the focus of, it sounds harsh, but let's be true for a moment, right? Manipulating the mental and emotional response of somebody when they interact with whatever you produce.
Yep.
Whether that's an application, whether it's something for education, whether it's a game, whether it's a piece of music, whether it's a website, whether it's an advertising campaign, a loyalty program, whatever. Anyway, so I'd done X amount of jazz, also in writing tenders and proposals and building them out for particular mental inputs and outputs from the end reader. I said, yeah, no stress, I'll help you with that. Not mate, give me a bottle of Fireball or something. That's easy work, right? And I realized that I'd volunteered to do that, right, because I enjoyed it. It was fulfilling and enjoyable. And that was the mechanical process that made me go, hang on. I used to do this kind of stuff for corporate. Corporate sucks. That's why I'm working for myself now.
Yeah.
But I'm not doing this. Hang on, why don't I do this for myself? And over the next 6 months or so, the nature of the work that we were helping people with, I mean, number one, ChatGPT is going to be doing that very well. Or when I say ChatGPT, LLMs in general. But number two, the nature of the work I was helping people with ended up being a higher and higher level with each different client. until we were solidly stuck around that goals and strategy. We weren't so much looking at execution document by document. I was advising and helping them build out mental profiles of the clients, but I was no longer the one sitting down there writing the documentation. So that's where that mechanical journey came from. But mentally, it's been a case of the most interesting thing in this world is the interaction between humans and systems. It's incredible. It's everywhere you look. From the moment we were born, we were interacting with something that wanted to engage us in a certain way. Whether it's a school, whether it's a television program, whether it's an advertisement, whether it's a community campaign, whatever. And the way that people perceive and interact with those concepts is incredible. So what if you applied that sort of lens, right, to a business? How does a business interact with individuals? The business's outcomes are very obvious. It is revenue. Well, it's profit, but let's take a level out, right? It's revenue. So that's a very simple baseline to hit. With non-profits, you've got a couple of differences there. Revenue is one, certainly from one side, but the other avenue is building trust with vulnerable people and finding ways to help them effectively. Right. So those are really interesting because you've got two dynamics you want to hit. You do also want to bring resources in so you can actually help people, but you don't just have one goal. But anyway, enough yapping. The mental journey has always been, how can I find a way to self-monetize this internal passion while also making sure that I'm actually helping people? And honestly, helping business owners, small business owners, medium enterprise business owners, why not? They're not people who are treated very kindly in this country by its institutions, so why not?
Absolutely. We're going down that rabbit hole, are we?
It's true. I'm not here to play in falsehoods. That doesn't help anybody. Like, come on.
So yeah, I get it. I see what you're saying. So tell us about your corporate life. Did you go to university? What did you?
I actually came up here to study how games interact with people, purely because it was the maximizing of interaction. Right. Now, a long time ago, I think I was 17. I was a farm kid, so I didn't have a lot of like tech growing up. Didn't have a TV until I was 9 or something, right? And we didn't have signal. We just had the DVD player. So I didn't grow up with, like sunrise in the morning. I didn't have Koshi in my ear, which was that's a whole kettle of fish. Being the kid at school who's like, yeah, I totally know the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles because you read it in the little What's On Wednesday night in the paper. Like I never actually saw it. I'd be like, yeah, I totally saw that. But I remember playing a video game when I was about 17, and it was called The Stanley Parable, and it was just walking and narration and some very basic choices: go left, go right, press button, don't press button, what have you.
Yeah.
So the construction company has decided they're expanding operations. Anyway, so
it's okay, mate. Just say that you're on a farm because it sounds like a calf squealing. It's all good. You can hardly hear it.
The game itself predicted what I was thinking and the way that I was interacting with it and the way I was behaving. And it was written 3 years before I interacted with it. And okay, shit, there is a set of triggers inside my mind that I'm not aware of, that I'm being made aware of through the interaction with this thing. The designer of this knows those triggers. He can use them at will. He can play with them. He can play with this mental state because he's got this set of knowledge and tools as to what's occurring and how to manipulate it. And that was incredible. I was like, okay, I need to learn how that functions. How do we do that? That's amazing. Scary, but amazing. So I came up here to Brisbane, studied, and then ended up working a bunch of different jobs. The games industry here is not the greatest. Melbourne's probably the best in the country. Then again, Australia is not generally post 2011, 2012 is not very high up there with our game studio output in comparison to the global scale, right? So I worked with councils, developing education stuff for kids. I worked with the Queensland Police, developing stuff to help, interesting project, that one, helping international students on the Gold Coast culturally, not assimilate, but understand cultural norms and cues. Maybe somebody comes from a landlocked country. They're not used to ocean safety. Maybe somebody comes from a place where it's customary to bribe police. So it's a lot of edutainment essentially going on around there, which is interesting because you do not rely on English as a language that somebody is fluent in. So you're using basic design principles to interact with them. Very interesting project. Worked with all sorts of different companies over all sorts of different jams, mobile apps, desktop games. During the Web3 NFT craze, there were people, I was working with people in discussing how to actually turn that into something valuable as opposed to just NFTs. They went down the NFT route anyway. No. Well, that all dropped. But yeah, very varied set of experiences. A lot of them were corporate or freelance, and freelance within a corporate setting. So you're still tied into an office. You're still, you've got a manager and team in the same way that you would in a corporate structure. And one of the last corporate gigs I had was application building, messenger application building, UI, UX for that kind of jazz, which slowly transitioned into working on online casinos. Don't ask me how. It was a lot of different projects. Slowly transitioned into working in online casinos, working in that gambling space, working on loyalty systems, all this sort of jazz.
Yeah.
Which is a very interesting space. I can't say it's the best, but you learn a lot about how humans behave and interact. You learn a lot about the shortcuts that people take to manipulate individuals. I think once you've worked in it, you don't perceive the rest of the world the same way. But yeah, I mean, the corporate life itself, just tiring, dull. The amount of energy spent dealing with ambition instead of producing anything of value was tiring. And I think most people, anybody, yourself or anybody who's listening who's worked a corporate job knows the pain of that.
Yeah, well, I worked in a casino.
Oh, interesting. Tell me more. Were you a floor operator? Were you a designer? What was going on?
No, I was a security officer.
Yeah, gotcha. That would have been a dark job, man.
Yeah, well, it's semi-police basically. So
you do not have the luxury of seeing the best of humanity in a role like that, I imagine.
Absolutely not. I also worked in a hospital setting as a security officer, so it was like a revolving door.
Yeah, gotcha.
You see them at the hospital, and then you see them at the casino.
Yep.
Same old clients. Now that's yeah. So yeah, and I read a few books about it as well. The Power of the Mind is one by Charles Duhigg, and he talks about that. He talks about how because they actually in Queensland they banned flashing lights at your front door.
That is good.
So the casino used to use that. They used to use. I remember when I first started there. They used to use these waves of colors, and that's to attract, because that's what they do. They found that well, I'm not going to go into the science, but they found out that their brain waves basically work like moths when it comes to lights, and that where the lights are, that's where we're going to go. So, and so I noticed that probably would have been the late 2000s. They stopped it all. They stopped using that method. I think
I very much appreciate Australia's ban on online gambling. Period.
Yeah, well, no, that didn't stop.
Well, no, I've met plenty of people who just use VPNs and so on, but I don't need to go into that. But
it's gambling is like any addiction. It's Yeah, well, the casino knew how to, like you said, they give carrots. Basically, I used to call them carrots. So they give them a free night's accommodation or something like that, so they could come
Oh
back,
yeah.
or give them a free meal. And by the way, audience, there's only two reasons why you should go to a casino. Let's have a meal and have a drink. That's about it. And a
Yeah.
dance. Oh,
No,
maybe
that's
three.
that's
And a dance.
legitimately it. I've got friends of mine who say to me, "Oh man, what's the best way to win?" I say, "Listen, tell you what, you give me $50, I'll tell you." And because they're gamblers, they're idiots, so they give me $50. I said, "Don't play." Oh, but I gave you. Yeah, correct. Are you tired
Yeah.
of being scammed out of your money, brother? Come on, come on.
So as an employee, they actually gave us the odds. The odds are not good. They actually gave
No,
us the odds on how it all rolls. And I'm telling you right now, if yeah, the odds are not in your favor. Definitely not. Not even close.
no. I remember sitting down with the head of. I'm not going to say the name of the company, but a rather large European firm in the online gambling space, and he was visiting the company that I was at. They were doing talks, doing deals, whatever. And me being the people person I am, I was like, well, I'm not going to miss the opportunity, right? I'm going to go up and talk to him. And there's been one question that every time I met somebody who was in a position of design influence, right? Whether it was a mathematician, whether it was a um, a designer, whether it was somebody who was leading a team, I'd ask them the same question. And I said, what do you think is an indicator that a game that hasn't gone to market yet is going to be successful? And the stark answer that this CEO gave me, right? And he's throwing games on market that in Europe are topping, right? And he said to me, listen, the honest truth, it doesn't matter. This is a schmuck's game. Doesn't matter. There are a couple of basic tricks. Find enough people stupid enough to fall for it. It's a schmuck's game. Doesn't matter what we release.
Yeah.
Oh, that was that because everybody who was at a lower level, right, was trying to divine the secret. But at the top, that's the theory. That
Yeah.
got me.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We're gonna get. Is this another rabbit hole?
Yeah, my apologies. My apologies. Do we want to try and attempt another question?
So I get what you're saying. So when did you start to think? Okay, was it that what he said to you? Was that like a stepping stone for you to think? Well, okay, what am I doing this for?
Oh, look, okay, that work was not what I expected to be doing. It was that role that morphed over time. Okay,
Okay,
well now you're on this project. Oh, well now you're on this project. Oh, well now you're on this project. And then there was also an element of COVID, right?
yeah,
So
okay,
there was a role there where this company said, okay, well we've got 10 years worth of salaries in a war chest. No one's getting fired. All my mates getting fired, left, right, and center. Bop, 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 bop. No one's got any work. So I stayed at one place during the pandemic through the 2020, halfway through 21, that kind of jazz as well. But it's never been a place where I think you can very comfortably and morally like sit. And it's incredible. I have to admit, another incredible thing was watching the mechanisms through which people convince themselves otherwise. Like there's always something worse. There's always something worse than whatever you're doing right now. And as long as you're not doing the thing that's worse, you're fine. But I have to admit, it was good experience in being able to sit down and help other people later in life. Simply because when somebody says, okay, well, I don't understand this mechanism here, or why is this company doing this, or A, B, C, D, you can talk about it through the lens of going, well, this company is behaving in this particularly manipulative behavior because to them, this is the lens at which they think they're going to get customers. On a base level, company X believes that their customers are idiots. Maybe they're right. I don't know. but that's the basis through which they're doing A, B, C. The techniques they're using are X, Y, Z. Someone will say, "Oh, I haven't heard of those before." You say, "Yeah, I know." It's because they're not on YouTube. They're not YouTube tutorials. You find some of the methods through which the world uses to manipulate only if you're in the right rooms.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Being in those rooms sucks, but it does teach you.
well, yeah, that comes to the psyops and social media and so and the likes, and how media works as well. And yeah, it's disappointing from my point of view, and that's why I try to create a podcast so people can hear a little bit of truth. But then also I walk the tightrope. Yeah. will I be told that no, you can't put this up? Which is happened before.
The other thing is that you're like, the title is right. Like, you got to get busy living, even though there are things that can occur or things that we may not like. You still got to get busy living. That's the truth of it. An awareness of, in my case, for me, get busy living in what we've been talking about just then translates into, okay, yeah, a lot of these things suck. How can I use that to help people? How can I use that knowledge to help people?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, what I was trying to get to before is, that progression where you realized, okay, this is dull and dreary. And like you said, that I'm working in because I speak to a lot of people that are ex, executive level in business, and the it's not what they realize after a few years. They 10 to 20 years, they start to realize, oh, okay, this is not what I thought it was. And usually it is a punchline, like you said before, that you go, oh God, what am I doing this for? And so I'm just trying to get the progression of where you thought, okay, now I can go out and I can do stuff with people with that mentality.
The punchline is a little spicy. I don't know how spicy we're allowed to get.
Oh, that's okay. I don't mind.
There was an individual who, at my workplace, and there's sort of the punch and then the revival. The punch was okay, these environments are not healthy or good, as the punch, and the revival was, cool, what do we do now? The punch was a fellow at my workplace who had accused myself and another coworker of sleeping together and was telling the C-suite that.
Yeah.
Now, this is not occurring at all. And this was one of the many interesting little things that ambition causes people to do. I'm a very simple human, right? Like, we do job well. This is about as complex as work needs to be. And this vortex of deluge had been spiraling within this corporate environment for a year and a half. Oh, and this person said this, and this person said this. Oh, and this person, and then sitting there, and it was getting to the point where it was developing into just falsehoods thrown into the blue to try and hurt people and hurt their careers. I was like, well, hang on. This is cooked, guys. This whole thing is cooked. This is absolutely cooked. And that was sort of the punch that went, okay, well, whatever we're doing, it can't be this. There are too many mechanisms at play which are wild. But that also leads into the resolution, right? Which is, if you're running a business or you're building an enterprise or a venture of any degree, you need structure and alignment between everybody there. You need, in some sense, mental control over the individuals and the way that they're behaving or they need to go. Because if you don't have that, you have these vortexes of deluge which occur inside your own company instead. So that was the punch. At the same time that I was working there, I happened to become close friends with an old South African fellow who had run X many businesses over the last 30 years. We're talking, I said to him one day, I said, why don't you buy a plane? He said to me, I've already got 3 planes. I had 3 planes. I got rid of them to buy this instead. And the revival was actually him helping me build the confidence to start my own venture. It was sitting down every day. Oh, come over for a cup of tea. Yeah, let's go have a cup of tea. And every day I'd just get more knowledge pumped into my head.
Yeah.
Through decades of experience and stories and, methods for, closing deals, or making sure you don't fall into bad contracts, or watching out if you get a contract that seems amazing. Oh, 40% of your customers are going to come from these people. No, now they've got control over you. Like those sort of business basics, right? I was very fortunate to have years of those pushed into my head. And so that revival from the punch was, I sat down one day with this fellow and I told him about what's going on. He said, no, you can do this on your own. You know that, right? And I said, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. But it was literally that confidence again, that confidence in having somebody to help build me up and my experience up to the point where I went, yeah, okay, I'll try it. That was the genuine transition. It wasn't only this thing at work occurring. It was this combination of effects. It wasn't necessarily purely that environment. It was somebody else saying, there is another way at the same time.
Yeah, and that makes a big difference. When you have a mentor that, like you said, who had been through a lot, had done many businesses, and came from South Africa of all places, and like you said, he'd been here for a while, but still, like even just to move a country, that's a big deal in itself. That's
to move a country and then not be allowed to take any of your funds with you, so you got to start again from scratch. That's impressive.
Scratch, yeah.
Every now and then when I think, oh man, something is, oh, this is such a difficult week. Oh, gee whiz. I remember and I go, well, hang on, in comparison, no one's brought a weapon into my business shop. No one's done X. No one's done Y. This is actually not too bad. Let's keep going.
Exactly right. And I've got a friend I work with in the hospital. Actually, he's from near Durban. He doesn't live in Durban, but near there. And he said to me, he said he's been out of the country for over 25 years now, or 30 years. And he said, he's got family that's still there, and they, at least once a year, someone tries to break into their home. At least, sometimes they're going to happen every few months. So I know and the other thing is, like you said, he pumped a lot of information into your head, and to be the empty glass, that's not easy either, as well. Especially coming from a corporate world, there is so much information you learn, and some of it, a lot of it can be negative, but to empty the glass and be able to, say, okay, I'm listening to what you say, and then I'm going to action it. That's more important. So that's commendable as well from both of you. So obviously, you still speak to him today.
Yep. Yeah, no, he's still a very good mentor, and to be frank, I'm very fortunate to be in that situation where you have somebody that you can say, hey, what do you think about this? Or I'm thinking about A, I'm thinking about B. And I guess maybe part of that's carried on. And in fact, I'm quite sure it has, because to be able to sit there and help people with what they're going through feels great. And I kind of hope that he feels as sort of fulfilled as I do when I, get the opportunity to help people.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll go on to tell us how you've helped business owners improve their strategies or their margins, anything like that.
Well, let's go with a one-off case, right? Let's talk about a contract. So this is an isolated incident. This isn't a long-running program. I'll get to a long-running program in a moment. a fella came to me and he said, he does stuff in security. And he said to me, well, I'm scaling up contracts that I'm working on, right? I'm going from 10 grand to 70 grand. I'm working with different types of clients. They're opening construction yards. They're opening warehouses. They're looking for physical security. They're closed loops. They're looking for multi-layered entrances, electronic door locks, all this kind of stuff. A lot of stuff to help make sure, they can actually check cameras if there's an OSHA complaint, and all this kind of stuff, right? And I said, okay, cool. That sounds really exciting, but you don't seem very excited. He said, no, I don't think they're going to cross the line. I just don't feel like it's going to get there. Okay, cool. Interesting. Tell me more. And we sat down, we went through for about an hour. We went through and we dug out the psychological profile of the potential buyer. And I'm going to get a bit crass for a moment, but I think it'll be educational. I don't mean swearing crass, just in general. Hopefully we'll be able to help the listeners with whatever their future dealings are. Is, we sat down and we developed the profile of his client, right? His potential client. Was this client somebody who wanted to be in big business? Did they want to be a big business person? Did they want a 30-page contract that they would meticulously read for hours before making a big business decision? Were they new into that financial bracket? Was this a big purchase for them? Because if so, that's going to change the way that he's writing his emails. It's going to change the structure of his quote. It's going to change the document. Because the thing that he was most concerned about was, I'm scared that if I don't get this proposal right, this document, I just won't get it. Okay, well, that's one profile. The second profile is this somebody to whom this document is bugger all? Are they at a level of wealth where they're going to look at the first page, maybe half of it, and go, I don't know, generic name, Sarah, sort this out. If they mess it up, just sue them. What's the psychological profile? We locked down the profile. We locked down the pain points that this person had with this contract. And we were able to turn it into, I like to use real world language. I don't like to hold on to LinkedIn style. Oh, it was this technique and this technique. It's like, sure, but it doesn't help in everyday conversation, right? Sounds very smart, but I don't like jargon too much.
Yep.
What we were able to identify was that the major pain point with the price for this client would be, he's just done an expansion. He's building out the business. He's not used to these big prices yet. He's already feeling as though he's in financial risk. Everything he's doing is to expand his business. And by all projections, it's going to work out well. Heck yeah, that's amazing. But there's still that mental avenue of, can I afford more right now? Can I afford to go home to my partner and say, honey, this is another 70 grand? Can you say to your friends, yes, I just spent 70 grand for the cost or the price or the quote, whatever it is, right? So how do we remove that pain point? Well, it's not a 70 grand cost, because that's not going to be a word that's palatable when the owner has to say that to their partner. Instead, because it is an ongoing service as well, so it's true. If you go home and you say to your partner, I've entered into a $70,000 business partnership or security partnership or security agreement, we've removed that mental and emotional pain point. That took what? An hour of work. We redeveloped the quote structure. We redeveloped the language. Mainly we did that as a result, but the work was identifying the position of both the potential client and the business owner who was proposing to them. And everything else is those steps in between, right? But that resulted in, next week comes in, yeah, got the contract. Perfect. Great. So that's my little one-off example that I like to give.
Very good. That's awesome, mate.
Do you,
So
if you
said there's
I've
a long
got a
project.
quicker one.
Yeah, go for it.
We've got it. I'm I'm working with a bookkeeper at the moment who, when we started working together, was suffering from just burnout, overload, stress. What does this business mean to them? They're not a bookkeeper at heart. In their mind, in their way they present themselves, and their business is 3 people, 4 people. So they're doing a lot of the primary contact. And we sat down and we worked and we went, okay, cool. Well, you're going to perform below average because there is a massive disconnect between you as the individual business owner and the business. Let's fix that. So we took 2 sessions, I think over 4 weeks, follow-up documentation, all that kind of stuff. And we built out a business profile and a business brand that mechanically did everything the same, but emotionally lined up with the business owner's beliefs and goals as to why they actually want to start that business. And from that point forward, from the moment we finished that workshop, we followed up after that. We built out some pitches, we built out like presentation templates, we built out the brand language, client profiles, 10-year projections, all that kind of stuff. But from the moment at which we built out that reforming of the concept of what the business was to this owner, then they've been more confident in their pitches. They're building stronger relationships with their clients. From that moment, then they've had more presence in any room they've been in when they're selling. Because if I work with someone, I'll go with them to an event or something, and I'll watch the way that they're interacting with people, and we'll sit down and we'll talk about it. We'll talk about how we feel X went, how we feel Y went, which is why a lot of people say, oh, you do branding, because a lot of it is that external communication. And what's the word for genuinosity? The genuity, her communications were more genuine. They were deeper, they were more impactful with clients from that point onwards. And naturally that leads to more yeses from clients. But that's an example of an ongoing partnership where we're building out that brand to be something that the business owner, because it is a smaller business, can push and promote with enthusiasm and vigor. Honestly, I've got 3 clients at the moment who I'm working with, and the main thing we're doing, 3 clients for this particular scenario, what we're doing is we're building out a business and brand voice that, while not theirs, is something they can actually get passionate about, particularly with expertise services, right? Like someone who's a brand designer, someone who is offering a bespoke service. Usually they've gone into business because they can perceive that there's something not happening in that niche that they want to fill. And that's the thing that they get excited about. And when you see them get excited, you see them get inflamed about what they're talking about, people go, oh, cool. This person knows their shit. This person cares about their shit. Therefore, they're going to care about the stuff that I get them to do. So a lot of it is also, or has been building that. Sorry, I'm interrupting you there.
No. Oh, I'm just agreeing. All right, brother. So that obviously is awesome for you. So that you've realized now that makes you happy, that you're helping people to realize who they are, and like you said before, create those steps to who they want to be. Because that's what it sounds like. It sounds like you help people not only strategy but scaling as well.
Yep, can be.
Absolutely.
Can be refinement too.
Yeah, well, that's systems, refining what they're doing as well. And I mean, most businesses that have that have those problems that we just talked about. So,
yeah,
I mean, they all have them. And have you ever worked with like restaurants or anything like that, restaurateurs?
No, but I did used to run a food product business. So,
oh, did you?
I have worked with restaurants and cafes and clubs and all that kind of jazz from a very different angle, but not with this business.
Yeah, because it's very it's got the worst reputation, food and beverage, because it's so fickle. They like it this week, next week they don't. And one little bad experience can cause a spiraling. And I mean, I think it's like remember the statistics because I go to a lot of networking events, and I think it was like 90%, 90% of all food and beverage restaurants or cafes don't make it past 12 months. That's pretty bad. And to
Yeah, it's
make
not
it
nice.
past 5 years, is like it's like only 8% or something like that, 7%, and then like past 10 years is like 5%.
I mean, you're starting out getting smashed with the two biggest costs, right? Location and
Yeah,
staff. A lot of other businesses can scale one or scale the other. No, you don't have a required product that you're selling either. It's leisure. It's leisure spending. So you're getting hit with a big three of potential fail factors,
yeah.
that's rough. And then
Yeah,
of
well,
course your location matters, and then what happens
yeah,
around you, what happens around your environment. Does the gym next door shut down? Do you lose your
yeah,
two best staff members because they're going to uni, or like it's a chaotic role.
absolutely. And I mean, like even the fit out, like most, unless you're going to a cafe that's already got a fit out that's very similar to what you've got,
Mm,
it's going to cost you minimum 30K minimum.
yeah.
Yeah, like that's that's a lot of money to borrow on. You want to make some really good coffee.
Mm. I think
And
if I was, I think it'd be an amazing industry to work in. I think a lot of it would come down to two things, right? Is what do you offer? Like actually, don't say you offer coffee and cake. Everybody offers coffee and cake. What do you offer? Not what does your industry offer? For some
yeah,
people, that's atmosphere. 15 years just on atmosphere. For some people, it's 15 years just on incredible fucking cake. You know.
yeah,
And then the second question is, what do you do when you mess up, or what do you do when somebody perceives you've messed up? Because as you say, right, you have such a fickle palate, literal palate. You know?
yeah,
So what
that's true.
occurs when something goes wrong? How do we salvage from those mistakes? And that's on a higher level when you think about how the business interacts with customers when something goes wrong. That's a strategic lens. But then we've got to take that down to tactics. What do your staff members say if something goes wrong and an order gets messed up, or something takes 40 minutes because there was a shortage of, I don't know, eggs or what have you that morning, right?
Yeah,
A supplier rocked up late, a truck got into an accident. How do you handle that? How do you deal with that when boots on the ground is the level that we're talking? And I think that's, to be honest with you, and I say this, let me correct myself here. I say this from somebody who has not done a lot of strategic work with cafes. So I'm going to throw a layman's perspective, and I want to say that. But I think that there's a lot of make or break in maintaining a human relationship with your customer and ensuring that you're still treating the customer well, even when something goes wrong. Because it's one of the great human to human interactions, right? Is
yeah,
there's a human at the counter, there are humans walking throughout the shop, there's customers walking past customers. It's a very human led space. So it cannot be treated like a system led space, like an e-commerce shop, or an accounting firm, which, while human, has a lot of systems led, we get you more revenue on your books. A cafe is very human to human. So how are your staff members as humans interacting with your customers in both good and bad scenarios? It's probably a big key there.
so how does Macca's get away with it? Money key.
Oh, by being a real estate business.
Pretty much. Exactly right. Yeah. Everyone
Yeah.
knows it's garbage. They just and that's similar to the casino as well. It's very similar. Because they know what the customer wants,
Mm.
and
I
they
mean, they've
make
also, if we're being real for a moment, they've also got hundreds of millions of dollars spent into building food that helps you want the food again. So that,
absolutely.
like they can probably afford to lose, as a total franchise, they can lose a couple of stores to bad behavior. Because the other thing that they
Yeah,
go, what do we offer? What does Macca's offer? It offers convenience. 100% convenient. 24 hours, you're going to get a rough approximation of the same burger every time. It used to offer cost. Argument, not so much anymore, but it offers convenience and surety.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, brother. You've done really well. We're up to the 50-minute mark, so I'll just
Doing my
ask the
best,
last.
boss. I'm doing my best.
You're doing really well. So tell us, who's your ideal client? Who do you like to help the most?
I've got a note on that here. Look, founders 5 years or under, usually the people who get the most value out of what I do. Either that, or you will find people who have been in business longer and go, great, I've finished expanding, I want to refine. But let's focus on founders for the moment. Two trigger points that often indicate that someone will get value out of what I offer. The first one is they're unsure about the steps they need to take to achieve their end goal. Sometimes that's because their end goal is really vague. Sometimes it's because their end goal is so sharp that their position of themselves is quite vague. And again, it's the A, B steps, right? Usually someone will say, I just don't know what to do there, or how do I get this to market? How do I reach those clients? How do I? Those are often the questions that lead into going, you should talk to Adam. Sometimes those questions come in a lack of confidence. You'll feel someone when they say, yeah, it's been a good month, and they go, oh, you can feel it. You can see the hesitation. Maybe they're not confident in themselves. Maybe over the last 4 months, you've seen a friend or a colleague go through a loss of self-confidence. It's probably as a result of just not knowing the pathway forward. And if that is the case, I can help them. The second one is, this is a fairly common one. Someone's getting client type A, they want client type B. So for example, one business I'm working with at the moment, their average yearly revenue per client is something like between 8 and 13 grand. And they want to scale up. They want more clients who are bringing them in 40 to 60 grand a year. Now that requires an alteration in strategy for those clients. So that's the second type of business that gets the most value out of what I do.
Very cool, mate. And the last question. So what ideas or information would you give to provide lifelong longevity? I had to throw one health question in.
Oh, of course. Don't gamble. To be honest, two things that I think are pretty generally applicable. Third one is a little bit of like a thing that I've just believed since I was a kid. Don't know whether it's true or not. So let me give you a caveat there. The first two, have someone or something to care for. That's like humans without purpose do not function.
Yeah, that's right. True.
The second one is believe in your own impact. Almost same thing, just a different angle. Believe that you can do whatever the thing you're setting out to do, like help people around you, or even if it's as simple as your impact is you give somebody a compliment in the day, just when you're out. Believe that you're impacting other people. If you believe that you matter and you exist, it's probably quite good for your overall health. My science for that, don't ask me. It's just my opinion.
That's pretty good advice, mate. Much appreciated.
The third one is lower your heart rate. That's what I would always advise people to do with absolutely no experience at all. So absolutely crap advice just out of the blue. You'll be able to tell me more about this. When I was a kid, right, I learned that turtles have a really slow heart rate. Oh, they live quite long too. Whereas smaller, like vermin and rabbits and so on, have faster heart rates and don't live so long. Is there a correlation between heartbeats and life length?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So this is the way I explain it. You've got about 4 to 6 billion beats from your heart over 100 years on average. Now, if you keep speeding it up, what's going to happen to your lifespan?
Yeah, that's a fair call. Well, there you go. There's the other tip. Listen to the Get Busy Living podcast. Sorted.
You stole my advice. I was going to say, so thanks very much for coming on, Adam, and we appreciate that you did that. So because you didn't bag me too much, we're going to give you access to my bronze membership. We spoke about it before the podcast. So you get access to that for 1 month. My associate, she'll give you all access to that anyway.
That sounds incredible. Heck yeah.
So yeah, it's worth $11, and yeah, you get it for free for 30 days. So thank you very much for doing that. So much appreciated coming on, Adam. Thank you so much. I actually learned a little bit today, so much appreciated. I did get some gold
No, look, well,
nuggets.
thank you for having me and listening to me yap. And I do want to apologize. I know that the areas that we went down, the tangents that we trekked down, were probably not the expectation at the start.
I thought we're gonna run out of time. We did.
I was looking at that clock in the corner, going, "Oh no!"
I was gonna go down. I thought, no, we're gonna stay on track. All right, thank you. But yeah, thank you so much. And I did learn something today, so much appreciated. And yeah, much appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming on.
That's all good. Alrighty, happy to be here. Thank you.
All right, you've been watching the Get Busy Living podcast with Dr. Scott and Adam. You have a great day, guys.